Hello, and welcome to the Director's Cut of Stigma in Society. I'm here to give my viewers an insight into the making of stigma in society, so let's get to it. I started out with these clips of the mentally ill because I believe it was a good introduction to the video. I think it's important that people see the diversity of mental illness, both with the type of the disorder and within every different type of person. I think this collection of people speaking really shows the universality of mental illness. Also, I believe these clips have the potential to start the video off with an emotional appeal to the viewer through real-life people with their mental illnesses. I placed this clip into the video in order to give a background into what stigma is historically and what it is today. I also wanted to provide the viewers an opinion that is not technically based on personal experience, but rather on expert experience, which I believe will establish credibility for my topic. Lastly, I wanted to introduce the problem that stigma presents on mental illnesses, such as the discrimination and the avoidance of those with mental illnesses.
How we maybe even mistreat
Next, I added clips from this TED Talk in order to incorporate some comedy into the video that also brought out a really true and very important point for my topic. I really wanted to emphasize the rational side of my argument, and so I used Ruby Wax's talk to show the reality of what happens with the mentally ill in our society, that they get judged by our society because society believes that mental illnesses are less than physical illnesses. And I introduced this quote from a peer-reviewed article to introduce the topic of the results of stigmatization, like the discriminatory actions such as avoidance, blaming, and exclusion.
People who have a mental illness
This is the point in the video where I transition from what stigma really is to the injustice of the stigma on mental illness.
Stigma produces a kind of isolation that grows from fear.
the list of mistreatment.
In this section of the video, I decided to include some of the history of the treatments of mental illnesses to show the inequality and injustice that has always been present toward the mentally ill. I also wanted to demonstrate the shame, the blaming, and many of the stereotypes that often accompany mental illnesses.
Having the touch of insanity in your family.
I used these past clips of past treatments of the mentally ill to invoke an emotional response from the viewer so that he or she may see the injustice of the stigma that accompanies mental illness and hope that he or she may change his or her attitude toward it. I also wanted to emphasize the importance of the evolution that has occurred within the treatments for the mentally ill.
That involves someone with a mental illness.
I similarly included some of the stereotypes of the mentally ill, such as violent, to show the bad reputation the mentally ill get simply for having a mental illness. It occurs within the media and everyday speech, and I hope that through these video clips, people may see how harmful these stereotypes can be to the mentally ill.
Must all be violent.
I then transitioned my video into the final section, which is the section that describes what I want my viewers to do after watching my video. I started by once again demonstrating the universality of mental illness. Then, once again, I went into personal stories from people who were or are mentally ill to invoke an emotional response that will hopefully last after the video has ended and will change the minds of those who watch the video and help them to remember the harmfulness of stigma. I hope that these personal stories will encourage viewers to make a change in their lives and help enforce a change in others' lives as well.
Mental illness was considered a character flaw.
Silence helps perpetuate.
I then included clips that encourage viewers to talk about the stigma on mental illness instead of keeping the subject quiet, because the more we talk about the problem at hand, the more easily we will be able to change the attitudes in our society about mental illnesses.
Talk to others.
Talk about these things.
Talk out loud without fear.
Because as long as stigma exists, it prevents the society as a whole from incorporating these illnesses into a dialogue.
Lastly, I included a final plea to the viewers to stop the stigma, and I did so using a hashtag in hopes that maybe people would use this hashtag if they were affected by the video. I believe in the power of technology in today's society, so I believe that if people were to use a hashtag like this one, it could make a difference in the views of many, or at least it would raise awareness for the people in today's society. Thank you for watching the Director's Cut of Stigma in Society. Never forget to stop the stigma. That's a wrap.